something. The San Francisco. Good evening once again, everybody. I'm Chris Berman. Welcome to Wednesday Night Baseball. That little rain, little wind, actually a little candlestick-esque this evening. And as we join my partner, Buck Martinez, fitting that, yes, on a candlestick-esque night, the Giants are in town. Of course, last year they didn't know what town they were going to be in. 6 months ago, literally a cloud hanging over the whole franchise. But not only are they happy to be wearing the SF on the hats and on the jerseys, they're happy to have the reigning MVP, Barry Bonds, and that made a statement right away that they mean business this year.
They sure do, Chris. And first-year manager Dusty Baker is thrilled about having Barry Bonds in his lineup. Who wouldn't be? This guy may be the best player in all of baseball. He really makes the other teams adjust. When he's in the lineup, he causes pitchers to do different things. In the outfield, he has no peers in left field. He is the best left fielder in all of baseball. And Dusty Baker's really excited about that winning tradition that he brings to the Giants.
The Cardinals, on the other hand, Buck, are very excited about winning the National League East. It's a division that's wide open all of a sudden with Bonds et al. Leaving the Pirates. You know what you get with the Redbirds.
Well, you've got to have speed in this big ballpark here in St. Louis. Busch Stadium has always been like that, and they have speed in the outfield. And you have to have pitching, and Joe Torre's excited about a relatively young pitching staff. We're going to see one of those real promising young pitchers tonight in Rheal Cormier.
A lot of young, exciting players for the Cardinals, but the old standby, the Wizard of Oz, and last night, opening night, no question what Ozzy was going to do. The backflip as he rang in the 93 campaign.
ESPN Major League Baseball is brought to you by Cold Filtered Miller Genuine Draft. Get out of the old. Get into the cold. And by Rheem Air Conditioning and Heating. It works like a Rheem.
And welcome back to St. Louis for the Cardinals and the Giants in their second of their opening season three-game set. Game one of the season won by the Giants last night as John Burkett outpitched Bob Tewksbury. And I don't know that on the second night of the season that Ozzie Smith is going to, as a matter of fact, I will guess that he does not do the backflip. But he would be very happy if the Cards get their first win of the year tonight. He truly is amazing. Ozzie had an RBI triple last night. Here's Dusty Baker's lineup for the Giants. Willie McGee, the former Cardinal, in right field. Darren Lewis, the center fielder, hitting second. Will Clark, the natural, at first base. Matt Williams hits cleanup most of the time. Barry Bonds hits fifth, his spot with the Pirates. Robbie Thompson, the veteran second baseman, batting sixth. Royce Aroni Clayton, the San Francisco treat, at shortstop. Kurt, what was that man wearing behind the plate? And the left-hander Trevor Wilson hitting ninth. That was our Energizer lineup tonight for the Giants. And they hope to energize themselves against the left-hander from Moncton, New Brunswick, Rheal Cormier.
10-10 last year. The left-hander got up to an 0-5 start and really turned his season around. Worked very well with his catcher Tom Pagnazzi establishing the inside part of the plate. Cormier, in Pagnazzi's mind, has the best stuff on this staff. He throws a fastball, curveball, an outstanding split-finger pitch. He's the young guy that they're pinning their hopes on for this 1993 season. Defensively, this is the Cardinals. The outfield, a lot of speed. Brian Jordan in left, Ray Langford in center, newcomer Mark Whitten in right field, just over from the Cleveland Indians. Of course, Ozzie Smith, 13 Gold Gloves at shortstop. Geronimo Pena, they expect him to provide some much-needed offense to this ball club. And Greg Jeffries trying to get comfortable over at first base. Behind the plate, two-time Gold Glove winner Tom Pagnazzi. Outstanding arm.
Weather tonight, the weatherman says that up through about 8 o'clock, which is about a half hour from now. Yes, it's a little brisk, as we told you at the outset. But the rain should hold off. However, a little bit later this evening, chance of rain is 60%. Feels a little cooler than 58 degrees, and there is some wind swirling around 17 miles an hour. But baseball it is. The tarp was on the field. The teams did not take batting practice. They hit in the cages underneath the stadium, and Willie McGee, who of course excelled here for the Cardinals much of his career, coming up in '82, and won a couple of batting titles as a member of the St. Louis Cardinals. Fouls the first pitch off. Willie McGee said that his legs haven't felt right the last 2 or 3 years, and according to manager Dusty Baker, Willie says he feels better to run since he was a Cardinal a couple seasons ago. Fouls it back. He also feels that he still is quite a good right fielder. Once upon a time, he did win Gold Gloves out there.
Well, he's the kind of guy that has spent a lot of time in center field, and then he moved to right field, and he brings a lot of speed and a lot of knowledge and savvy on how to play the hitters. Tough outfield, of course, their whole ballpark in Candlestick, but he has made the adjustment and done it very well.
And he will be the leadoff hitter this season. A little flare behind second, but plenty of room for Geronimo Pena, and he makes the catch. Well, Dusty Baker last night, 43 years young. What a thrill it was for him, managing his first major league game, coming away with a win. He saved the scorecard. The players gave him the game ball afterwards, and we spent some time with him this afternoon. He tried to downplay it, but the grin was ear to ear. He was kidding nobody.
No, he was thrilled to get that first win under his belt, and it's a tough transition going from a coach to a manager, but he's done it quite smoothly.
So with one down here in the Giant first, Darren Lewis. Young center fielder, certainly is an outstanding fielder. As a hitter, he's kind of between AAA and Major League level. He and Dave Martinez, a strict platoon as the Giants open up this season. Each will hit in the number 2 slot. Martinez played last night against the right-hander Tewksbury.
Well, you can put up with him learning how to hit in the big leagues when you have so much thunder behind him. Clark, Williams, and Barry Bonds. You need the defense.
Defense, there's no question he brings to the park. Cormier, 1-1 pitch. Down a little low, and you mentioned the thunder behind them. Boy, the Giants opened shades of '89 with Clark, Matt Williams, and Barry Bonds. Shades of the salad days of Kevin Mitchell. And the Giants went all the way to the World Series. The grounder to Pena. 2 down. Rheal Cormier. I mean, not often that you get a major league pitcher from New Brunswick, Canada.
Moncton, New Brunswick. That's where he's from. And when you pitch in this ballpark, you want to have the hitters put the ball in play. So you expect the pitcher to throw a lot of strikes, and that's what Cormier has established already here in the first inning.
Well, they worked Will Clark away all last night, and with the lefty facing the lefty, yeah, there it is. Will was certainly expecting the pitchers to be on the outside part of the plate. Clark hit the ball extremely well last night and all night to left field. He had a double last night, but had a couple of other shots to left field. Strike says young Brian Gorman behind the plate, son of, if the name sounds familiar, Tom Gorman, longtime umpire. This is his son, just promoted from the American Association, working his first major league game behind the plate. So, you know, it's even exciting for the umpires at this time of year. Clark grounds it foul. Mark Hirschbeck is at first, Mike Winters at second, and Bruce Fremming is at third base. Last night, walked into the park with Bruce. It was his 36th opening night. 23 in the bigs, 13 in the minors. He said, you know what? I feel like a kid. If I don't, the day I stop feeling like a kid coming to the park on opening night is the day I stop doing this. Don't count on that happening soon.
Now, still has that enthusiasm.
Inside to Clark. Count is 2-2. None on, 2 out. Top of the first. Giants and the Cardinals. He of the quick start, Will Clark. Count is full. Up top. Matt Williams on deck. Barry Bonds hitting 5th, as he did with the Pirates. And Clark is aboard. So a 2-out base runner for the Giants. And now Matt Williams will step up. Williams had 16 RBIs this spring, more than any other Giant. Had a pair of hits last night. With just the presence of Barry Bonds, Buck, number 5, he ought to see a whole lot better pitches than last year. It's 20 and 66 are numbers that some would take. 227, though, is what Matt's looking to improve on.
Yeah, I think you'll see big improvement coming from this guy with Bonds behind him.
Swinging at the first pitch and skying it to right, actually short center. Pena just can't hold on to it in foul territory. Behind second base, Pena drifted a long way and should have had that ball. Wind swirling around just a tad.
Well, I think that's what happened to him. He got over in foul territory down the right field line, and then the wind swirling in this totally enclosed stadium blows the ball back over his head. He ran underneath it, and then the wind pushed it back toward the field, and he couldn't come up with it. So Matt Williams has life. They've charged him with an error.
They expect good defense here in St. Louis. They don't fool around. Hey, we know it was a foul ball, but I guess they want to put the standards pretty high. Pena knows he probably should have had it. Wait till he tries making that play at Candlestick. It'll be a whole nother adventure. Count is 0-1 to Matt Williams. Clark on first, 2 out. Top of the first. And on deck, the imposing figure of Barry Bonds. 0 for 2 last night, but his sacrifice fly drove in the second Giant run. Near 2-1 win. So he has an RBI as a San Francisco Giant tonight, looking for his first hit. Cormier was working quickly with nobody on, Buck, but now with a runner on, he's taking his time.
Well, he slowed it down a bit, but I love the way that Pagnazzi and Cormier have already established they're going to pitch inside. They want to really be aggressive to that inner part of the plate. And Cormier throws a bit harder than you might expect. He's kind of sneaky quick, and he can really bust that fastball in on your hands.
1-2 pitch, and that's grounded foul.
They went with the changeup and had Williams way out in front. This young left-hander really came on in the second half of the season. The Cardinals won 9 of his last starts. They won 6 straight. But he's the type of guy that can really mess with a hitter's timing. Joe Torre was pleased with the way he came around after an 0-5 start. Now he's got Matt Williams thinking about both sides of the plate. He's thrown called strikes inside, thrown a changeup outside.
Grounder to Ozzie Smith. Over to second base to Pena in time to force Clark. And the Giants are gone here at the top of the first. We'll get a chance to see Greg Jeffries and the Cardinals come to the plate in a moment. A reality. They hope that Rheal Cormier can bring the Cardinals a win tonight. And as we check out our Energizer starting lineup, here's the lineup that Joe Torre hopes keeps going and going and going. Geronimo Pena at second base leading off Ozzie Smith, the shortstop hitting second. Greg Jeffries over in the trade in the offseason with the Royals at first base. Ray Lankford, MVP type candidate. Mark Whitten, the right fielder. Todd Good Housekeeping Zeal at third. Brian Jordan, the left fielder tonight. Tom Pagnozzi hitting eighth behind the plate. Left-hander Rheal Cormier hitting ninth. Against the left-hander for the San Francisco Giants, Trevor Wilson, a guy who just could be, Buck. I know 8-14, you say, well, what do you mean he could be? Dusty Baker feels he could win 16, 17, 18 games with not much improvement.
Well, he sure believes in this young guy. He started out the last season on the DL. That's why his numbers really weren't that impressive. But he's a sneaky left-hander. He likes to pitch inside, much like Cormier. Fastball, breaking ball, and a straight changeup. And he's done a good job pitching very well coming out of spring training. Defensively, Bonds, Lewis, and McGee in the outfield. Matt Williams, very solid glove at third. Kurt Manwaring behind the plate. May be the second best catcher in the league here with Tom Pagnozzi tonight.
What you're seeing there for the Giants is a very underrated defense. But when you think of Bonds, Williams, Clark, McGee, they all have won Gold Gloves. First pitch inside to Geronimo Pena, a guy who the Cardinals are all sorts of excited about. He can flat out fly. 2 hits last night. Wilson quickly behind 2-0. You mentioned the injury problems of Wilson. Last year he had a small growth removed from his rib, a benign growth, so he started the year on the DL. September he was on the DL with a left elbow problem, so it was really he never got going last year. Year before he was 13-11, which is quite a far cry from 8-14. However, he's not going right out of the gates tonight. 4 pitches, 4 balls. Pena is a big-time threat to go.
Well, the Cardinals are a very quick ball club, and you'll hate to walk the leadoff runner anytime you play anybody. But with this Cardinal team, they don't feature an awful lot of power, and they're going to take advantage of their speed and try to force the offense, put the pressure on the defense. And you hate to see a leadoff walk, particularly when Ozzie Smith, who handles the bat so well, is in that number 2 spot.
Well, so far this season, Pena in 5 trips to the plate, 2 hits, 3 walks. That's pretty good. Wilson having difficulty locating the plate. Matt Williams going to try and settle him down. He's working real quickly, and I don't know that he's that quick to the plate.
Well, Dusty Baker was concerned about Trevor Wilson because he's a high-strung guy, and he's got to keep his emotions in check to be successful. So that's going to fall upon the shoulders of Dick Pohl, Dusty Baker, and the young catcher, Kurt Manwaring. Got to manage his emotions during the course of a ball game.
Count is 1-1 to Ozzie Smith. No score, bottom of the first inning. Early on as a Padre, yes, that's right, you forget he was a Padre, and as a Cardinal, Ozzie wasn't that great at the plate. You can see here in the latter part of his career, 280 batting average plus the kind of glove he gives is pretty impressive. Pena with his speed was moving, and so the Giants can only get the force out at first. Pena on at second base with 1 down.
Well, they were playing a little hit and run, and Ozzie was shooting for that hole on the right side of the infield, but he hit it right at Robbie Thompson. Pena on the move. No chance to force him out at second. Pena with great speed. 1 look toward home. Thompson, no play at second base, just takes the out at first, and the Cardinals move Pena up 90 feet.
Pena, I know it's a while ago and only in single-A ball, but at Savannah in 1987 stole 80 bases. Here's Greg Jeffries. Very interesting acquisition for the Cardinals in an all-Missouri trade. with the Royals. Gave up their starting right fielder, Felix Jose. Jeffries last year drove in 75 runs, hitting .285 for the Kansas City Royals. A doubles hitter supreme, which in this park can make you real valuable. Pena bluffed going. Clayton will have to move it over to first base in time to get Jeffries. Pena on to third. So Ray Lankford is up. No score, bottom of the first inning. Chris Berman and Buck Martinez. Glad you could join us. A doubleheader Monday and a game late last night. A game that you also were at, Buck. So the season is about 2 games old, and you've already accrued about 30,000 frequent flyer miles.
Yeah, we're bouncing around a little bit, but that's all right.
Ray Lankford, boy, the tools that this man has. And you look at the numbers, which were up there a moment ago, with the 20 home runs and the 86 RBI and 293. Consider that he also struck out 147 times, which led the National League. Stole 42 bases, but led the league in being thrown out 24 times. What we're trying to say is what tools he has, and once he becomes a more experienced player, he could be twice the player he is right now. Agree?
Yes, once he learns more about patience at the plate, pitch selection, learns the pitchers around the league, he should get better.
A year ago, Ray Lankford, as a rookie, had 15 triples. Led the National League. The first St. Louis rookie to amass 15 or more triples since some guy named Hornsby in 1916. That's pretty good company. Count is 3-1. 2 down. Pena the runner at third base. Wilson hasn't had the great control, but he has induced the 2 ground ball outs since issuing the 4-pitch walk to Pena. And now the walk to Lankford. So Trevor now has to face runners at the corners. And a man that the Cardinals just acquired late in spring training. Not often you come up with a starting right fielder 2/3 of the way through spring training, but they have Mark Whitten.
Well, their target was an extra outfielder. They just thought they were pretty well set with the 3 outfielders they had, Gilkey, Langford, and Brian Jordan. But they looked around and thought they needed some depth in the outfield. They found out that Whitten was available from the Cleveland Indians, and they got themselves an everyday outfielder. There's his number, are his numbers from last year.
And one thing he does have is a rocket-like arm.
He really throws well.
Cardinals. I mean, you hate to say it, but all those bases on balls, and the Cardinals have the lead.
Mark Whitten with a good piece of hitting, aware that Trevor Wilson had just walked Ray Lankford ahead of him, was expecting a strike on the first pitch, and gets a fastball about thigh high out over the plate and hooks it by a diving Royce Clayton into left field. So he was standing on deck, took notice of the walk, and got himself geared up for a first pitch fastball and got it.
Still 2 on and 2 out, and Todd Zeile up. Zeile smoked the ball last night. Manager Joe Torre said that that was as well as he had seen him drive the ball in a regular season game in a long time. Now remember, things got so bad for Zeile last season that they sent him down to AAA for 3 weeks. He bounced back, had a better September, and the concentration has really paid off. That's foul off near the right field stands.
They had made the move defensively to take Rheal from out behind the plate and put him at third base, thinking that maybe they would free up his offense by not having to worry about the defensive aspects of catching and calling a game. He could go down to third base and develop into the offensive player that they expected him to be. So far, it hasn't happened. But Joe Torre still has high expectations for this guy. He has shown that he's got some pop in the bat.
One thing that did improve last year, Buck, as some things will only improve with time, his first full season at third, 91, made 25 errors. That led the National League. Last year, only 13 errors. So all of a sudden he moved up to fourth best of the regular third baseman.
And that's a dramatic improvement. The first year over there at any new position, you're thinking about so many different things. Am I in the right spot? Did I get the right signal from the pitcher? Lots of things going on for a first-year player at any position.
Driven down the right field line, but foul. And it's a good thing for the Giants that was foul, because with the 2 down, Witten would have been smoking around third base. A tough play for Willie McGee down around the corner, although he has played the caroms off that wall before.
Willie McGee was over in right center and had a long run. If this ball would have been fair, there would have been Cardinals running out everywhere. Now, it was interesting. Kurt Manwaring went out to the mound after that drive down the right field line. Let's see if they set up inside now, because it looks like Rheal is really getting out over that plate.
0-2 pitch on the way. They appeal now to Mark Hirschbeck. Umpire from Stratford, Connecticut, said no.
Well, they went outside again with the off-speed pitch, but Rheal driving that fastball out away from him. Let's see where they go here.
Langford the runner at second, Witten the runner at first. 1 run in here in the first inning for the Cardinals.
Took something off the changeup and trying to get him to go up fishing off the plate.
Dusty Baker has seen a couple of walks turn into 1 run. He'd like to stop the bleeding right there.
Pretty good movement on that fastball down. You know, this is a learning experience for the pitchers as well as the catcher. This year, Roger Craig is no longer the manager of the Giants, and he's not calling a lot of the pitches. So Kurt Manwaring's got to think on his own out there, and he's got to learn how to call pitches and take control of the game.
Full count now, which means that Langford, who can move, will be off at second, and Witten will be off at first.
Boy, this is a typical Cardinal rally, isn't it? A couple of walks.
1 single, yes. Rip foul, we'll do it again.
Rheal's having a good at bat. He's had to fight off pitches out and away from him. Lay off of changeups pretty close to the outside, and now gets a pitch inside from Wilson and gets a piece of it, pulls it foul to stay alive.
10th pitch on the way from Wilson to Rheal.
Generally, when that happens and a hitter sees a lot of pitches, he has the upper hand.
Ground ball past Clayton, and Williams bonds up with it to throw to third, and Clayton has got Witten tagged out, but not until the run scores. Heads up play by Barry Bonds, but the Cardinals come up with a pair. Bonds will lead off the second inning for the Giants when we come back. Back at St. Louis, top of the second inning, Barry Bonds due up for the Giants. Made a heads-up play out there in left field to prevent runners on the corners.
Todd Rheal singles through the left side of the infield. Ray Langford comes around to score, but look at Bonds. He sees Mark Witten coming over from first base and just soft tosses a little one-hopper to Royce Clayton, who puts the tag on Mark Witten. One thing that Dusty Baker says about Barry Bonds is that he's more aware and his instincts are better than even Dusty Baker had imagined, particularly in the field and on the bases as a base runner.
Well, when you're MVP 2 of the last 3 years and you're second that other year, chances are you get some pretty good instincts at the plate and in the field. And the numbers that Barry Bonds has put up the last 3 years, as he will tell you, speak for themselves. Swinging at the first pitch from Cormier and fouls it back. Last 3 seasons for Barry Bonds. Yeah, this will work. Averaging over 30 homers a season, 111 RBI, not to mention the base stealing. Last time I checked, Buck, that was pretty good.
He's the full package, that's for sure.
The best numbers over a 3-year span ever. Include the steals. Count is 0-2. Tip back into the glove of Pagnozzi. Strike 3. Let's tip it back into the glove of Gary Miller.
Chris, let's check out the punch. Carlton Fisk facing Jim DeShays, pitching an American League game for the first time since '84. And Carlton goes back in time with number 376 in his career. The Twins have come back to tie in the 4th. Back to you.
It's always good to see Pudge rounding the bases. He may never tire, ever.
It's incredible he's been able to continue to play and perform.
Work ethic always the same. Here's Robbie Thompson, speaking of a guy with a good work ethic. One of the grizzled Giant veterans. This is a pitch inside. Again, you talked about the last inning. Cormier not afraid to work the hitters inside.
It's really significant for a young pitcher to establish inside. He gets a reputation. It spreads quickly around the league that he's tough inside, not afraid to bust hitters in there.
Another ground ball to Pena, who's been busy thus far tonight. 2 down.
And that's the benefit of pitching inside. You make the hitter less aggressive when you throw something outside because you bust him inside, push him off the plate. Now you make a good pitch outside, and you will get many ground balls. Good combination of pitches by a young Cardinal left-hander. Take a look at the swing by Thompson here. Pagnozzi on the outer part of the plate. You can see that his heart's really not in that. He's not real aggressive, not ready to dive out over that plate because Cormier had busted him inside.
Royce Clayton, the shortstop, chops it back to the mound. Cormier, nice inning for him. We head to the bottom of the 2nd inning, 2-0 Cards. Ozzie and Mark Whitten exchanging notes. Ozzie's got plenty to share with his young Cardinal teammates. Brian Jordan, Tom Pagnozzi, and Rheal Cormier, 7, 8, 9, up against the left-hander Trevor Wilson. Cardinals with 2 runs in the 1st inning. Couple of walks got Wilson in trouble. Whitten and Zeal with RBI singles, and that's where we stand. Chris Berman along with Buck Martinez here at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. Ripped, and a fair ball inside the left field line. Jordan can run around first. Bonds, it gets away from him. Jordan's going to hit for 3rd. Here's the throw. Sails. All right, Barry Bonds had all sorts of trouble with that one. First the carom and then the throw. And Jordan is in with a leadoff triple.
Well, Bonds was concerned about something down in the corner. Let's take a look at this hit by Brian Jordan. Just inside the line. Remember, it's been raining here, and that turf is lightning quick. Now, watch the carom. Right there. Oh, Bonds was thinking that maybe a fan had touched it, but it scoots away from him. And he generally is the best in baseball at going in there and cutting that ball off in the corner, but that one got away from him, and Jordan has a triple. That ball really took off down there in that corner.
And you're seeing right there as the first pitch to Tom Pagnozzi is a strike. You're seeing in Jordan one of the players who you know, they really don't know how good he can be. Brian doesn't know how good he can be. Langford, they have a field. Pagnazzi drives this to center field. Darren Lewis under it, but don't even try it. Jordan comes home with the third Cardinal run. 3-0 St. Louis. What we're saying is that when Langford can improve, Jordan just played 55 games last year, injured, and remember he was still making a decision until halfway through the season to go back and play safety for the Atlanta Falcons or concentrate on baseball full time. A guy like Pena is only just beginning to show what he can do. Cardinals have a pretty high ceiling, Buck.
Jordan is so talented. There's no doubt. There's tremendous room for improvement. Last year's hitting instructor, Don Baylor, who's now the Colorado Rockies manager, said that he loved the way Jordan worked at things. He was able to improve dramatically. I mean, remember, this is a guy that doesn't have much baseball background at all. Joe Torre was really pleased with his spring training. Halfway through it today. He doesn't need to get any more hits for me. I just want to see him have good at-bats every day.
0-1 pitch to Cormier is inside.
It's not so much of Brian Jordan that freed him up to trade Felix Jose to Kansas City, so Jordan would have a place to play every day.
We talked about this team being full of potential doubles hitters. Brian Jordan, young man from Baltimore, school at Richmond University, played for the Spiders, majored in sociology. There's a look at the Cardinal bench. Very exciting squad potentially here for Joe Torre. Broken bat, grounded to Clayton, over to Will Clark, and there's 2 down. And here's Jordan. Now remember, he had to hesitate a little bit, Buck, to see if Bonds would come up with the carom, but here he is from plate to third.
And this is full speed. Take a look at Jordan. One look around there, and look how quickly he makes the turn. He sees Barry Bonds having trouble down in the corner, and aggressive head-first slide has himself a triple.
Well, you know what I was thinking there as he was going from second to third. That's what NFL running backs saw when he came up from the safety position to support the run. And that football mentality can be, not all the time, but can be real helpful in this game of baseball. Not as a rule, but on some it's real beneficial with the way you go about every at-bat, the way you go around every ball in the outfield. You can be too aggressive sometimes, but I think in Jordan's case it's really helpful to him.
Well, it's helpful to him, and I remember Kirk Gibson, of course, and I think it was really beneficial to him too. He brought a tremendous intensity to the Tigers.
2-0 the count to Geronimo Pena. Swung on and missed. Pena walked and scored the first Cardinal run. As we take a look at every night we do a ball game, 15 after and 45 after, you'll see all the scores, not to mention at 28-58. Not to mention our Baseball Tonight studios with Gary Miller and the gang. Pena, little blooper. He's been up 6 times. He's been on base 6 times this season.
What's his on-base percentage?
Well, now, gee, I forgot to bring my calculator, but let's see, carry the 1 over here, 1,000.
Well, he dumps a little Texas legger into center field. Broken bat job, but it's a hit, and he's a hot Cardinal hitter right now. And this is what they had expected from Pena. Remember, last year he broke his collarbone in spring training, and he was lost for about half the season.
This is Ozzie Smith up with 2 out. Pena from the Dominican Republic. What a way to open up the season.
Good time to gamble on the stolen base here.
Now Trevor knows that.
With 2 outs, Ozzie Smith at the plate. Very patient hitter. He will give Pena a couple of pitches to take off on if he likes, and then if he gets thrown out, hey, you'll have Smith to lead off the next inning.
Pena, one of 11 children growing up in the Dominican Republic, and that'll make you quick.
Got to run to the dinner table, I guess.
Yeah. Joe Torre really had an idea of what he had when Pena hit .337 last September. You got a veteran like Jose Oquendo that will just sit on the bench with Pena at second base.
Joe Torre knows the value of speed, not only defensively in the field here in Busch Stadium, but on the bases with Pena at first base and Smith at the plate. Trevor Wilson, who's had problems with his control, now is concerned about a stolen base, so it's even more of a distraction.
Count is 1-0 to Ozzie. Pitch out, nothing doing. So now it's 2-0. And Trevor, who's had some control problems tonight, now is behind 2-0 to a guy who's a pretty good hitter. Dusty Baker knows that full well. Ozzie last year hit .295. And only once in his career did he hit better than that. Hit .303 back in '87. Sky to right field. Willie McGee is there. And Pena is stranded at first base, but not until Brian Jordan's triple gives the Cardinals their third run.
Miller Genuine Draft brings you this date in baseball, 1979, for the earliest no-hitter in National League history. Ken Forsch doing it to the Braves. His brother Bob did it for the Cardinals the year before. The only brothers to accomplish the no-hit duet. Back to Boomer and Buck.
All right, Gary, that, of course, was Ken Air Force.
And Bob?
Magnum Force.
Very good.
It's good to bring the old ones back.
Bob was a Cardinal for several years, of course.
Air and Magnum Force. Manwaring, Wilson, and Willie McGee up 8-9-1 against Rheal Cormier. Manwaring numbers from last year. Most impressive number for Kurt Manwaring was his work behind the plate. He threw out 44% of the base runners that tried to steal on him, best in the league last year.
Well, when you think the major league average is just at about 30%, 44 is outstanding. Dusty Baker believes that this guy can hit too. He thinks that he's been praised so much for his catching and not enough for his hitting, and Dusty has taken it upon himself to encourage him with his hitting, and he thinks that Kurt Manwaring can become a very effective and a very strong contributor to this offense.
Well, Manwaring a couple of years ago was the heir apparent to Terry Kennedy. Of course, and they get Gary Carter a little bit, but Steve Decker jumped over him from Double-A to the majors, and Manwaring really had to bide his time and really swallow his pride a little bit. He hung in there, and he proved to be, thus far, the better catcher than Decker, and now the job is his. He certainly had to earn it almost twice. Fouls this one back. Manwaring, one of the, catch a lot of ball players from upstate New York, from Horseheads, New York, same hometown as our good friend, the guy who's gotten off to a heck of a start on the PGA Tour this year, Joey Sindelar. Went to college at Coastal Carolina, Myrtle Beach. It's an interesting place to go to school. So now we brought you up to date on the Kurt Manwaring story. So we got a guy from Horseheads, New York, at the plate, and someone from Moncton, New Brunswick on the mound. Now that's not your normal.
They are not baseball hotbeds.
Right. That's exactly right. But they may soon be. Pitch is inside. Now Manwaring is working to a 3-2 count.
Now let's watch and see if Cormier goes to the outer half of the plate against Manwaring here.
Chopped and past the diving Rheal into left field. The Giants have their first base hit of the night. Let's hit it over to Gary Miller.
Chris, with man warning aboard, we take it to Riverfront. The Reds and Expos tied at 1 when Moises Alou gets into one from John Smiley over Kevin Mitchell. Alou scored the Expos' first run of the game. He homers to break the tie. They lead 2-1 in the 6th.
All right, Gary, thank you. You think of all the father and son combination, the Alous in Montreal, the McRaes in Kansas City. Of course, the Bonds is right here in San Francisco with Bobby Bonds, the first base coach and hitting coach of the Giants. Trevor Wilson up. And guess what? He's going to bunt. Oh, Cormier couldn't handle it. He had to play at second base with the catcher running, but couldn't field it cleanly. And so, in the end, Wilson gets the job done.
Well, Cormier got ahead of himself. He knew he had a shot at second base to nail Manwaring, the lead runner. Watch how quickly Cormier gets off the mound. He knows he's got a chance at second. He was getting his body in position to turn, but the ball went off his glove, and he had to settle for the out at first.
So the Giants, who trail at 3-0, now have their first runner in scoring position, and Willie McGee is up, top of the order. Baseball rolls on here on ESPN. First game on Friday, the Dodgers at the Braves. Darryl Strawberry and company, Pete Smith, the forgotten starter in the rotation, expected to go for the Braves, and then the Brewers at the A's at 10:30 Eastern Time. Robin Yount working on his second 3,000 hits. Mark McGwire and the A's. There's still some bash to that team, that's for darn sure. So here in the opening week of baseball, as McGee swings and misses at the first pitch, you get the doubleheader Monday, the game Tuesday, the game tonight here Wednesday, 2 more Fridays, Sunday night baseball back here at Busch Stadium. Basically, we've got you covered here, and we're happy to bring you baseball for our 4th season here on ESPN. Cormier to the plate. McGee, gloved by Ozzie, wisely holds on. So McGee with the infield single. The Giants with 2 base runners. Darren Lewis becomes the tying run at the plate.
Ozzie Smith knew full well he didn't have a chance to get McGee at first base, so he just gloved it, ran it back to the infield. Take a look at the runner at second, Kurt Manwaring. When you're a base runner, you've got to make sure that ball on the left side goes through. So when Ozzie Smith backhands it, Manwaring stays at second. You've got to make sure that that ball in front of you on the left side goes through the infield before you advance.
Darren Lewis, the young center fielder, is up. Lewis, 25 years of age, and I think more than anyone else last year, Dusty Baker, when he was coach with the Giants, worked day in, day out with Darren Lewis on hitting, both in the cage and just talking to him about what to look for pitchers. Dusty thinks Darren is a very sharp kid from University of California. He picks up a lot of things, and he knows that he's a very hard worker. And so there's a relationship from coach to player that now will transcend a manager to player.
Well, I don't think there's enough talk about hitting these days. I just don't think there's enough time where the guys sit down with a Dusty Baker or a Chris Chambliss, the Cardinal batting coach, and just talk about situations, pitches. What do you look for? When do you look for pitches?
Lewis faked the bunt, and if he could have dropped that down the third baseline, that would have been intriguing. Pulled it back, though. The count is 2-1.
Well, in the number 2 spot ahead of Will Clark, whatever you can do to get on base and set the table for 3, 4, and 5 in this Giants lineup, you're going to be doing your job.
3-0 Cardinals, but the Giants with 2 on here and only 1 out in the top of the 3rd. Fly ball to right that will find its way into the stands. Count is now even at 2-2. Darren Lewis, a Bay Area product from Hayward, California. So when he came up with the Oakland A's, Giants acquired him a couple of years ago in a trade that sent the veteran Ernest I can see for Riles and Riles from the Giants to the A's, and brought the youngster Lewis over to San Francisco. So Ernie Riles made the Red Sox. That good for him. 2-2 pitch. Sky to right field. Pena out. Witten in. Witten falls off Pena. He gets the ball quickly back into second base. So 2 down now with 2 on, and now the heavy metal for the Giants. Clark, Williams, and Bonds, perhaps. And with 2 on, Will Clark will expect at least 1 pitch that he can drive.
Both Will Clark and Barry Bonds are outstanding students of hitting, the aspect I was talking about in reference to Darren Lewis and Dusty Baker. Clark is very aware that the Cardinals want to pitch him away, and he might go ahead and sit on that pitch on the first pitch here.
Up top with a fastball, 1-0.
Now Cormier and Pagnazzi have to show Clark another area of the plate if they're going to continue to be successful in getting him out. Pagnazzi has to make note whether or not Clark is making little subtle adjustments in the batter's box during the course of this ball game, trying to compensate for that ball out over the plate. Always tough in these situations.
Now has the count in his favor, 2-0. Cormier knows that with 1 swing of his bat, Will Clark can undo this nice 3-run Cardinal lead. That is 2-1. Manwaring the runner at second base.
Look at the Cardinal outfield defense. Jordan in left is played over toward the line. Langford to center field, shading into left center, and Mark Whitten is playing well over into right center. That backs up Clark's ideas that they're going to try to pitch him away. You just got to look around and take note of the defense.
Clark drives it to center field. Langford coming in, and Cormier gets out of the jam. The Giants strand a pair. We head to the bottom of the 3rd here in St. Louis with the Cardinals leading 3-0.
Let's update you from Cleveland Stadium, where the Indians were shutting out the Yanks until Bernie Williams connects in the 7th with a man aboard to tie it at 2. But Jim Abbott has just left the game in the 8th in a 2-all tie with a pitching change. Back to Bush.
All right, Gary, we'll head to the mountains. Thank you. 3-0 St. Louis here in the bottom of the 3rd inning, as Rheal Cormier was the real deal in wriggling loose from not only 2 runners on, but being behind Will Clark 2-0. Buck and induced him to fly to straightaway center field on a harmless hit ball. Craig Jeffries, Ray Langford, Mark Whitten are up 3-4-5. Jeffries, they may have finally found a place for him to play, right? The knock on him was no field, but first base. Maybe his spot.
He won't have to make throws over there, but he can swing the lumber.
He certainly can. A base hit to left field, and Jeffries is aboard. Big question, a big trade for Felix Jose, a guy that was an outstanding defensive player in right. And there was debated, is this a good or a bad move for the Royals and Cardinals? The RBIs exact same last year. A couple more homers for Jose. Many more doubles for Jeffries, but there's more than just these numbers, Buck.
Well, Jeffries makes a lot of contact. Jose struck out 100 times, and when you're playing the Cardinal type of ball, you want contact. You want first and third. You want hit and run and steal. He brings that entire package over here. Another aspect of it we talked about earlier was the fact that moving Felix Jose to Kansas City allowed Brian Jordan to move to the outfield every day.
And let's face it, the Cardinals for a couple of years have been looking for somebody to provide some pop at first base. You know, with Langford up here and the count is 0-1, you know that they've had many a sleepless night thinking that they gave Ken Hill away to Montreal for a gamble. The guy was a good player at Montreal and may have a good year for Colorado this year, Andres Galarraga, but in St. Louis last year just never came close. So first base was, especially on a team like this, you don't have a lot of power. You need some sock from the first base position. And you know, for the 2nd straight year, they've made a move there. And this year, they think that Jeffries can be their guy.
Well, he's going to do it differently than, say, a Jack Clark, who was so good for the Cardinals years ago in the mid-'80s. But he's going to hit around 300 and should hit right around 40 doubles in this ballpark.
Shot. Clayton gloves it nicely. Thompson turns it, but not in time. And there's the advantage of being able to move, because the Giants turn that pretty quick, and Clayton looks slick at short, Buck.
And Clayton, unorthodox with the spin, goes to his glove side. I don't know that you'd have got Langford anyway on that ball, because he had to go to his right to backhand it. The momentum carried him around. Langford, with explosive speed, hustled down the line to beat out the relay throw.
So now Langford, the base runner, with one down, and Mark Whitten up. Whitten with an RBI single in the first inning. Whitten and Zeal with RBI singles in the first. Pagnozzi with a sac fly in the second. This bounder, Clayton steps on second, then makes the play over to first base. So if at first you don't succeed, try again. The Giants turn the DP. We've played 3-0 St. Louis.
Kellogg's brings you tonight's K-Factor, the most bullpen strikeouts for the National League a year ago. Rod Beck and Jeff Brantley leading the Giants to 37 more than Rob Dibble and the Reds. Tonight's K-Factor, they may need the bullpen tonight. Back to Chris and Buck.
All right, Gary, thank you. That would surprise a lot of people. More strikeouts than the Reds. Top of the fourth, 3-0 the Cards behind Rheal Cormier. Lead the Giants, but the young left-hander will have to face Matt Williams, Barry Bonds, and Robbie Thompson. 4, 5, 6. And the Giants lineup. Cormier, as Buck mentioned, struggled early, 0-5 last year, set down, then came back up. So went 10-5 over the latter portion of the season. He was one of only 3 National Leaguers to win 5 games in the month of September. Doug Drabeck, Jose Rio, the others. That's pretty good company. So he finished with a flourish and had a good spring. Joe Torre got a good game, albeit a loss last night from Bob Tewksbury. And with Cormier and Donovan Osborne, he thinks he's got 3 front-line pitchers. Matt Williams looks at the 1-0 pitch, slugs it, but foul wide of third base, scattering the Giants bullpen. And naturally the bargaining going on for the baseball, which the Giants made their deal.
Spreading some joy for a young ball fan down there, handing that ball over. That's good.
That's great. That's the one that I caught at the game. I think we talked about this Monday. Louis Aparicio. See, I remember it's a fan who I caught mine off. He popped wide of first base at Yankee Stadium in a Red Sox-Yankee game. 1-1 pitch. Good pitch that Williams went fishing for. That's where he's susceptible. The balls that he goes fishing for sometimes.
Well, we talked about in and out all night long with Cormier, and right here he turns that changeup down and away, turns it over. Williams goes after it. But boy, anytime a pitcher can get command of both sides of the plate, that's when hitters have a long night.
Oh, Matt doesn't like the call, but Cormier went it inside. So Williams will sit down, and a couple of words back and forth with Brian Gorman behind the plate. Barry Bonds stepping up. Much was made of what kind of relationship would Barry Bonds have with Will Clark. We talked with Barry before the game, and he said, controversy? What controversy?
You know, me and Will Clark are out there to do a job, and I mean, it's great for a team to have 2 good ball players on the same team. I mean, what else do you want? Do you want Will Clark and Joe Smo, or do you want Will Clark and Barry Bonds, and see what Will Clark and Barry Bonds can do together? I mean, I think that's more excitement than anything else, and I don't understand why anyone would want to downplay it.
Now, Barry's used to being around all-star caliber players. The Benias, the Van Slykes, and the Drabecks that Pittsburgh had. Got some on this squad, too. Sky to center field. Langford is there, and Barry is 0 for 4 as a Giant.
This guy is a very intense competitor. Watch his reaction. That fastball beats him, and he's upset about it. Cormier made a good pitch on him and had Bonds back in the hitting zone, and he popped it up to center. I like what he says about Clark and Bonds. Let's see how big the numbers can be. Nothing wrong with a little friendly competition with your teammate. That'll benefit everybody.
Tell you what, if they get it going, and Matt Williams benefits from it, as we'll talk through the night, they will be one of the most exciting teams to watch this season. Robbie Thompson hitting it out of play on the right side. I mean, whether you like the Giants or not, just watching a team that can bash the ball like this, and in all three of the guys I mentioned, field the way they do. These aren't just free swinging sluggers that you hope they don't hit the ball to out there. All of them own gold gloves.
And they've got pop with the bat, and I think it's easy for a lot of people around baseball to overlook the Giants because of the strength of the Western Division in the National League. The Braves, the Reds, the Astros, the Dodgers are much improved. It's going to be interesting. Dusty Baker says, you know, we get some pitching, we're going to sneak up on somebody.
Robbie Thompson certainly hasn't won a gold glove, but is a sharp fielder. Robbie struggling a little bit with a hip flexor. A little trouble pivoting at the plate. Hurt himself late in the Cactus League season, and it'll take a lot more than that to keep him out of the lineup. He is your definition of a gamer. Ripped, but Sunday night baseball. You like watching a ball game from Busch Stadium? Well, check it out at 8 o'clock Eastern time. Former Giant, now back in the National League with the Reds, Kevin Sing-along with Mitchell. Cincinnati invades Busch Stadium against Ozzie and the guys. John and Joe on the call, and our Sunday night lid lifter will be in the studio for that one. Reds with a heck of a rotation. Maybe the best starting 9 or the other 8 out there in the league. Cincinnati and Atlanta, boy, they could have the best 2 records in baseball. Only one of them will go. As Thompson, good job of pitching by Cormier. Pair of strikeouts for him this half inning. 3-0 Cards.
Deion Sanders and the National League champion Braves take on their arch rivals, the Los Angeles Dodgers. Live leading off ESPN's Friday night doubleheader.
We're back at Busch Stadium in St. Louis, bottom of the 4th inning, and Todd Zeile looks at ball 1 from Trevor Wilson. Zeile's single in the 1st inning plated the 2nd Cardinal run. And the man who was on deck, Brian Jordan, led off the 2nd inning with a triple, scored and a sac fly by Tom Pagnozzi. And Rheal Cormier has given up only 2 hits here through the first 4 innings. Here's Cormier. It's just warm for him. Ripped up the middle by Zeile, a base hit. So Todd Zeile tonight is 2 for 2. Always hitting perfectly is Gary Miller.
Chris, we take it to Cleveland. 2-all game. Jim Abbott just came out. John Havian just gave up a 2-run homer to Albert Bell, and this one is ticketed as well. Gone downhill just inside the line. Watch Carlos Martinez running like he's going through a minefield. Randy Velarde's throw, the relay, Stanley gets him. Gone downhill also got thrown out at home. Indians still lead, though, 4-2 going to the 9th.
It's hard to run against that brisk breeze coming off of Lake Erie. Todd, good housekeeping Zeile with a leadoff single here in the Cardinal 4th. And Brian Jordan. Finally sit on Sundays and kick back and watched NFL prime time. So he kind of missed playing football a little bit, but he made his decision, and it's going to be very interesting to see how he develops as a baseball player. Certainly the Cardinals had to make a major decision that they don't usually have to make. Not having much track record on a ball player, laying out some major league cash, but they felt it was well worth the investment.
Well, of course, the Braves had to do the same thing with Deion Sanders.
Royce Clayton backs up over to Thompson for 1, turns it to Clark, double play. turned that one pretty efficiently.
Not going to double Brian Jordan up too often, but Royce Clayton unload very quickly to Robbie Thompson. And Thompson, he is a tough, hard-nosed second baseman who hangs in there. Look at that. He didn't even budge. Just strong arms. And come on, I'm going to turn this double play no matter what you do. A lot of heart right here.
So the base is cleared, 2 out, and the pitch up top to Tom Pagnozzi. Pagnozzi has won 2 straight Gold Gloves behind the plate, an All-Star last year. Slumped in the second half of the season, was hitting .282 at the All-Star break, and then the season started to take his toll and ended up with a .249 average.
Well, Joe Torre played several seasons here with the Cardinals, knows that you can melt down in August, the dog days here, particularly when you're strapping on that catcher's gear every day. That's what happened to Pagnozzi. And as he understands more about catching every day, he will know how to pace himself a little bit, try to preserve some of the strength down the stretch so he can keep those numbers high.
And Wilson loses him on 4 pitches. Pagnozzi on with a 2-out walk, and the pitcher Rheal Cormier coming up. And pitching coach Dick Pohl will stroll to the mound. Pitching coach this year for the San Francisco Giants. Pohl, who used to pitch for the Red Sox, Cubs, Mariners. I talked to him during the day and just to watch him from the bleachers at Fenway. He said, yeah, you probably had to duck at all the ones that I gave up. I said, no, I didn't say that.
Yeah, you had to pay attention, huh?
He wasn't the only pitcher that struggled pitching in that park, let me tell you.
Took him a while to zero in the strike zone. You can see 26 pitches in the first inning. 2 first-inning walks eventually came around to score. But he's zeroed in much better here as the game progresses.
Tom Pagnozzi, the runner at first base. Pitcher Rheal Cormier is up. Cormier, 138 lifetime. Cormier, who went from Moncton, New Brunswick to Rhode Island Community College. Played for the '88 Canadian Olympic team. And in the offseason, when we go back to New Brunswick, what does he like to do?
Chop trees down.
Lumberjack. Just fitting in at home. And that last swing was kind of the same sort of motion, wasn't it, Buck? There you go. There's another one felled. That was an oak, I think.
Interesting how there are a few more Canadians making their way into the major leagues. You think of the Expos' Larry Walker. Many people regard him as the best right fielder in the National League. Steve Wilson, left-handed relief pitcher for the Dodgers.
Kevin Reimer. Wilson trying to get his opposite Cormier out. 1-2, 2 down. 3-0 St. Louis. Bottom of the 4th, Pagnozzi, the base runner at first. There's a job of hitting by Cormier. That was an ash that I think that just chopped down, and a base hit in the left. So Rheal Cormier perhaps helping his cause here. Now with 2 on for the top of the order, and a man that's yet to be retired this season, Geronimo Pena.
Very good at bat for the pitcher Cormier. He hits a breaking ball and slaps it through the left side of the infield. Pretty good swing right there. Clayton can't knock it down. It goes into left field. Bonds gets it back in, but it's a big hit considering there's 2 outs and he gets back to the leadoff hitter. That's not what Dusty Baker had in mind.
Dusty wasn't smiling as wide as Cormier was either. Pena has walked and scored. Single tonight. Oh, and he slugs it back to left. There it goes back kicked on the year. And Geronimo Pena has busted this thing wide open. 6-0 St. Louis.
First pitch swinging, Geronimo Pena jumps all over the high fastball from Trevor Wilson. Boy, oh boy, what about that 2-out base hit by the pitcher?
Yeah, nobody on, 2 out, and then a 4-pitch walk. And here's Ozzie trying to rifle one down the right field line, but it's foul. You know, Pena's second baseman, well, of course, he has been a Pena to Dusty Baker and the Giants. He's 6'1", 195. He's just turned 26. I mean, he's a big guy that actually some people said, but well, why don't you make him your first baseman? He may have that much power. And let Oquendo play second. That's before the Jeffries trade.
Well, that makes a lot of sense because then you get Oquendo back in the lineup and he's a better defensive second baseman. But Pena, they have known that he has offensive abilities that could really put up some big numbers.
And there's the always smiling Jose O. Jose Oquendo, he knows his role here is going to be limited. Joe Torre knows that he's feeling a lot better tonight than he did last night. And John Burkett and the Giants beat Tewksbury 2-1. Ozzie fouls it off. The count is 2-2.
Torre doesn't expect to see too many 3-run homers this summer.
No. 62 games last year, Pena had 7 homers here with the Cardinals. To go with 3 more he had in Louisville at AAA, so that was 10. Clayton off his glove. Forget it. Not against Ozzie. He's safe. They're going to give Ozzie a hit on it. And Dusty Baker will make the walk to the mound, and that's going to be it for his left-hander, Trevor Wilson. Brian Hickerson, lefty, is warm in the pen. There goes the call. And here inside of 4 innings, Geronimo Pena, you'll never guess what the Cardinals call him as his nickname. You'll never guess. The Chief. Geez, where did they come up with that one? Even I can do a better job than that, but can't do a better job than his 3-run homer. We'll be back. Bottom of the 4th inning, and Brian Hickerson on in relief of Trevor Wilson. Craig Jeffries up with Ozzie Smith, the base runner, at first. Geronimo Pena's 3-run homer has busted this thing wide open. 6-0 Cards. And there's a look at the left-hander, Brian Hickerson, 29 years of age, from Bemidji, Minnesota. Pitch at the University of Minnesota. Looks like that's a Bemidji, Minnesota. So we've had Bemidji, Minnesota, Horseheads, New York, and Moncton, New Brunswick figured tonight. 1-1 pitch, ripped at Matt Williams. Throw across the diamond in time, but the damage has been done, and it's been done by that man, Geronimo Pena. We've played 4, 6-0 St. Louis.
It's America's game of the week. The Reds face the Cardinals Sunday night.
Catch all the ball on ESPN.
Now the Giants have some work to do now against Rheal Cormier, who did his work at the plate. And that enabled Pena to hit the big home run. 6-0 St. Louis as we begin the 5th inning here. 7-8-9 Clayton Manwaring and the pitcher Hickerson do up.
Well, Joe Coleman has really got to be pleased with the way Cormier has pitched here in his first outing of the year. And Coleman has done a good job bringing these young Cardinal pitchers along.
Clayton tries to bunt his way on, but that will roll foul for strike 1.
One thing that Coleman has done
is he's relied upon Bob Tewksbury, the veteran ace of this staff, and he has allowed Tewksbury to go to these young pitchers whenever he feels like it and talk about pitching, to remind them, hey, get ahead. Use your breaking ball to get ahead. Go strike one. And there's Tewksbury sitting right next to Coleman, and they have been able to really get these young pitchers thinking about pitching, what it is to pitch inside and outside and to change speeds.
Count is 1-1 on the young shortstop Royce Clayton, who hit back to the mound his first time up. Clayton began the year at shortstop last year for the Giants, then went sour at the plate. Sent back down to the minors to Phoenix. At Shreveport, 91, had a solid 280 with 68 RBIs. The publication called him the minor league player of the year. Here again, what you talked about, Buck, from the outset, working inside and then outside, kind of a veteran approach.
Well, it certainly is, and Cormier established that in the second half of last season. He learned how important it was to keep those tough right-handed hitters off of the plate, throwing strikes to the inside part of the plate. Right there. Now he is buying some extra room on the outside because he's keeping the hitter Clayton from being very aggressive out over the plate.
Full count to the leadoff man here in the 5th inning, and Clayton rips it to left field for the Giants' 3rd hit of the night. McGee, Manwaring, and now Clayton, all with singles. Those are the only safeties off Rheal Cormier. Bobby Bonds, the first base coach. Of course, it's Bobby in Giant garb that is wearing the strange number, at least for him, wearing number 16. Didn't quite look like Whitey Ford to me. Here's Curt Manwaring. Cormier working inside, but missed it, ball 1. Manwaring 1-for-1, single tonight. Popped up. Is there room wide of first base? Jeffries. Oh! And Clayton tags. What a play by Jeffries. And a heads-up job by the umpires to prevent a possible big-time injury. Well, they're going to like a guy that plays hard here in St. Louis, and there's no question that Greg Jeffries does just that.
Let's take a look at this play. Great concentration by Jeffries, who's trying to find a home at first base here in St. Louis. He's got that rail to contend with. Now watch Mark Hirschbeck, the umpire. He's not concerned about interfering with play at all. He's thinking about the well-being of Greg Jeffries, and that's a heads-up play right there. Clayton takes second, but nice job by Hirschbeck, the first base umpire, to keep Jeffries from falling into that dugout.
Ryan Hickerson is up. He's only been to the plate 16 times in the bigs and is 0 for 16. I remember a pretty good left-handed pitcher named Jerry Kuzman that was 0 for his first 43. And then on his 44th at bat, hit one off the wall at Shea Stadium, chugged into second base. Before they could give him the baseball, they appealed at first.
He missed first.
He missed first base.
You can't really blame him. He's never been there before.
That's right. That was awful.
They gave him instructions next at bat.
Yeah. like the ball. No, I don't think so. I don't think he wanted it. Well, it was a hit, but count it 2-1 to Hickerson. Clayton, the runner at second base, made a heads-up play to run down there. With Willie McGee in the on-deck circle. There's Clayton's lead off second base. Kind of a cool evening here in St. Louis, but the Cardinals fans have a lot more to cheer about than they did last night. It's going to be a fun ball club to watch all year, and as we said at the outset of the telecast, Buck, the NL East a whole different shape with no heavies. The Pirates are no longer the Pirates. You get the Mets, and the Phillies, Montreal, Cards, Cubs. I've seen them picked in a publication or two to win it. Of course, our Florida Marlins maybe could surprise. I mean, it's just wide open. Talking with Joe Torre before the game, he thinks it'll take 92 or 93 to win it, but yet that could be a little bit high.
I think so, because of the balance in the division. You mentioned all those clubs, and basically everybody needs the pitching to come through.
However, one thing that Joe did say is, and he said, hey, Florida and Colorado will surprise some people, but in an expansion year, the win totals are a little higher as Hickerson goes down swinging. Count is, and there are now 2 outs, and Willie McGee will step up. But you pick up a couple extra wins that maybe you wouldn't normally. So normally the winner would have 89 or 90. Maybe there's where the extra 2 or 3 come from. But there'll be several teams vying for the top spot in the East. There's Cormier thus far. The first French-Canadian to win in the major league since Claude Raymond. Ripped by McGee, backhanded by Rheal. Dug out by Jeffries, who's had an intriguing 5th inning. We head to the bottom of the 5th at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. The Cardinals 6 and the Giants nothing. Bottom of the 5th inning here at St. Louis. Rheal Cormier working on a 3-hit shutout. Geronimo Pena with a 3-run homer for St. Louis in the 4th inning that busted it open. And yeah, a little nippy, but well, wait a minute. There's a Marlin hat, a Duke hat. See, the Marlins fever. Catch it. We caught it on Monday. I'll tell you that. What a great afternoon at the, I can't say old ball yard, the new ball yard. We hope that a lot of you were along with us for that game as Ray Lankford leads it off here in the 5th inning. So much excitement, and I'm sure the scene will be great at Colorado for their opener as well. But we were just lucky to be on hand and win. And it was everything you could have asked for if you were the Marlins. Lankford, ground ball to second base. Robbie Thompson over to Will Clark. And there is 1 down. Not only do we give you baseball, we give you pucks, and we give you tennis. From Amelia Island, Florida, the Bausch & Lomb Championships. You can see it tomorrow at 2:30 in the afternoon Eastern and 11:30 in the morning on the West Coast. So clean your contact lenses with us in the morning out in the Hotel California. 6-0 here at Busch Stadium. Swinging at the first pitch is Mark Whitten. Again, it's Robbie Thompson over to Will Clark. 2 up, 2 down for Brian Hickerson. Came on in relief with 2 gone in the 4th inning, and he's now induced the Cardinals into 3 ground ball outs.
Well, he's got that good running fastball, sinks down and away from the right-handed hitters, and the Giants defense looks for a lot of ground balls with Hickerson on the mound.
Todd Zeile is 2 for 2 tonight, was 1 for 4 yesterday, so he's just starting off just the way Joe Torre wants him to. I mean, Joe, another thing Joe said before the game was that although the focus is on the outfield here, Buck, that his cornermen, Zeile and Jeffries, must deliver at at the plate and really defensively, but he's talking at the plate. If so, he thinks his outfield will really respond. There's Rheal. Another shot to center field. The ball well hit, but he's retired for the first time tonight. We've played 5 here in St. Louis. 6-0 Cardinals. We'll be back. Yeah, back at St. Louis, new first baseman Rod Strange Brewer has gone in relief of Greg Jeffries, and we'll have to check and see if that's just precautionary or maybe he bruised himself on that play on the rail alongside the Cardinal dugout. Cormier is no injury. Now we have word that he's just they're up 6-0. He banged himself around. Let's give Brewer a shot. That was handed over quickly, that little bit of information. And here's the big news tonight. Pete Harnisch, a no-hitter in the Astrodome through 6 innings. So I'm sure Gary and company will keep us abreast of that situation. And there's no question that Harnisch has the heater. And you figure out, boy, we got through Drabek and Swindell. No problem tonight with Harnisch. Surprise for the Phillies thus far.
And that is not a Punch and Judy lineup that he's no-hitting.
No. It's a tough chopper. Rheal smartly elects it to bounce foul, and it does. And Darren Lewis thought that he had a single, but the ball took a hard left about 86 2/3 feet down the line.
Well, it hit in the cutout sliding area third. Rheal sizes up the situation, knows he doesn't have a chance to throw him out at first.
Yeah, look at that.
And then allows the ball to go into foul territory.
Now, does the grounds crew cut that exactly to make sure that when the Giants hit a chopper that goes foul?
No, I don't think they get that intricate. It's a play by the third baseman, though, just to let it go, and it spun out of play.
Count is 2-2. So, of course, we had yesterday the first almost perfect game, and then the almost no-hitter by Jose Mother Guzman of the Chicago Cubs. Darren Lewis, a little sawed-off shot behind second. Pena out. Calls for it. There's one down. You know, first couple weeks of the season, as Gary showed us before this night baseball, the Forshas with no-hitters. Early on in the year, it's cold. You find, Buck, right, a lot more chance for no-hitters, certainly close to no-hitters.
Particularly guys that come out of spring training with a pretty good fastball. Hitters really don't feel like swinging. In Chicago with Guzman, of course, indoors in Houston, so that's really not a factor. But Harnisch coming out of spring training with a pretty good fastball. I think a lot of people, like you mentioned, Chris, overlooking Harnisch in that rotation.
He's been an all-star. He's got some quality stuff. His control gets better each year. He's going to be heard from.
Now there's another National League West team that's got a pretty good ball club. Quietly built up a very fine pitching staff. Some key players: Jeff Bagwell, the first baseman, Greg Biggio, second base, Caminetti at third. They've got some pretty good players, and now they've bolstered their pitching rotation, so they should make some noise in the West.
There's a pretty good player right here, Will Clark, who drills it to right, but Witten is there and makes the play. So Clark hit it on the nose, but it goes as a fly ball out to right field. Matt Williams coming up for the Giants, Buck.
By the book, this is something about the strengths. Good surroundings, that's Clark and Bonds around him. Strong out over the plate, that's where he likes the pitch. And man, if you make a mistake, leave a breaking ball on the inner half of the plate, he'll hit it 9 miles on you.
Hit this one about 9 miles up. Fortunately, Buck, they read the book. Unfortunately for Matt Williams, and they closed the book on that at bat. Cormier has retired 11 of the last 12 batters he's faced. 6-0 Cards. things we're going to have fun with on Wednesday night is this feature. Deals and Steals. May 8th, 66, Orlando Cepeda traded from the Giants to the Cardinals for one-time 20-game winner Ray Sadecki. How did the trade pan out? Well, let me tell you how it panned out. In 1967, as a Cardinal, Orlando Cepeda, as Cha-Cha, won the MVP. Ray Sadecki didn't win very much as a San Francisco Giant. The oddity of that is that Cepeda in 69 was traded to the Braves for Joe Torre. And Joe Torre in 74 was traded from the Cardinals to the Mets for Ray Sadecki. And now you know the rest of the story.
The things you learn on Wednesday Night Baseball.
Here's Joe. Now, be honest with me. Do we look alike, Joe and I?
Yeah, I have to say you do. I don't know how that makes Joe feel.
When you said that. Well, Brian Jordan, oh boy, into the dugout.
I would have to say that Joe was probably a better hitter than you.
Oh, well, I mean, we're not discussing that. And Joe smiled at that as well. See, he's listening to this. I didn't know they could cable down there.
Yeah, he's rolling his eyes, and he's thinking, yeah, well, maybe I do look like that guy.
Well, I'll tell you why I asked. All right, now, I tell you why I asked. Now, Joe maybe doesn't wear the purple coat. Now you're looking. Joe Torre, Chris Berman. I would say, what do you think? We can vote on it at home. At lunch today, someone came up and said, Mr. Torre, would you sign this, please? And that's happened to me a few times in town. Bryce Clayton over to Will Clark, and there's one out. It's a good thing for Gary Miller. He looks like neither one of us.
Boomer, I think they thought you were Frank Torrey. On to the Budweiser, taking you to Riverfront, and the Expos evening up their record. Mike Lansing knocking in their 5th run. Lansing playing for Delino DeShields, who's got chicken pox. He could be headed for the disabled list. Ken Hill gets the win. Back to you.
All right, Gary, thank you. 6-0 here. St. Louis over the Giants. Pagnazzi fouls this pitch off to the right side. Pete Harnisch is now taking the mound for the 7th inning. Top of the 7th inning, the no-no going, and Gary will keep you abreast of the situation in the Dome. Harnisch, no-hitter through 6 for the Astros against the Phillies tonight. Pagnazzi's sac fly drove in the 3rd run of the night for the Cardinals. 2 in the 1st, 1 in the 2nd, and 3 in the 4th on the 3-run homer by Geronimo Pena.
I think the Giants better get a new book on Geronimo Pena.
Yeah.
They haven't figured out how to get him out yet.
No, they have no book. Ryan Hickerson came on with 2 outs in the 4th inning in relief of Trevor Wilson, who really scuffled tonight. Of the 20 batters that Wilson faced, 12 of them reached base, and Pena really drove the stake into Trevor this evening. All he's done is come up to the plate 7 times this year and been on base 7 times.
Well, you know, Pena had a little bit of a problem in spring training with Joe Torre, the manager.
Or was it me?
No, it wasn't you, I know, because they sat Pena down. Torre was questioning his concentration and his dedication and said, hey, this is a pretty good kid, but I just want to make sure he gets focused on the right things.
Ripped to left field, but Bonds is there to make the play, and there's another one gone.
So he sat him down for 3 days, and I think he really got his attention. They really like his skills, of course, with the bat. I think he can provide some pop in this lineup, but Torre was a bit concerned with his lackadaisical approach to the game in spring training and sat him down for 3 days and maybe made an impression on him that's going to pay off for the Cardinals in the long run and for Pena.
Here's the hitting machine. Cormier dropping one in behind Clayton and in front of Bonds. So on a night when Rheal Cormier's 3-hit pitching through 6 gets the headlines, his hitting is what has made him smile probably a lot more.
Very difficult to dump one in front of Barry Bonds because he plays so shallow, but that was right in no man's land. Rheal Cormier, a couple of hits tonight, and maybe the key hit of the night to set the table with 2 outs for Geronimo Pena. Right ahead of that 3-run homer in the 4th.
So here is Pena. 4 for 4 and 3 walks this year in 7 plate appearances. Walked and scored in the 1st, singled left on base in the 2nd, 3-run homer in the 4th tonight. One-0 pitch. Ripped.
Chris, it's really interesting as we watch that foul rattle around in the seats. Pena is seeing the ball so well right now. He has total confidence at the plate. He's seeing it out of the pitcher's hand, and it's amazing because not only is he hitting it hard, but he's seeing it well. The walks are testimony to that. This is the type of thing that could continue for a while.
Inside, misses.
There's nothing quite like getting off to a fast start for a hitter. You get that early season confidence and you build yourself a cushion to protect you against those offers later on in the month of April.
Pitch down low, good play made by Manwaring with the runner Cormier at first. Count is 3-1, 2 down, bottom of the 6th, 6-0 St. Louis over the Giants. Geronimo Pena has made the Giants pay. Oh, took the big cut. Count is full.
He was thinking about going downtown again. Maybe he went out of the zone a bit chasing that high fastball, but he had the count in his favor at 3-1.
Do it again. You know, one thing Joe Torre, and you told the story about the spring training with Pena, Joe was not afraid to get his players' attention from time to time. Sending down Rheal for 3 weeks last August. Sending down Cormier when he scuffled at the beginning. He reminds everyone that, you know, nothing is a given here.
Nothing wrong with causing them to compete for jobs. He said, hey, you know, you pitch well and I'll have you here. I don't have any grudges or any preferences about who plays for me. I just want the best players available.
One of the advantages that Joe Torre, a guy who was a heck of a player, obviously an MVP here in St. Louis in '71. You know, he's managing his 12th season, but he's only 52. And I mean only 52 is he still speaks with the players. He's still a player's guy. Ripped by Pena, another base hit. 8 trips up, 8 times on. This man is not human. Geronimo Pena.
We talked about what it's like at the plate when you get into one of these streaks. You really see the ball well. This is not that bad a pitch down around the knees, but he's so hot now he just goes down and winds it into left field. His 5th straight hit to start the season.
Just look at the numbers. You're talking about a leadoff hitter hitting like that. Ozzie Smith is up. What's nice for Ozzie is that every time he's come up this year, there's at least one guy on. Ozzie drove him in last night with a triple, the lone Cardinal run. Ozzie tonight 1 for 3. Heading toward left center field. Lewis with a nice jump on the ball. Prevented extra base hit, extra bases for Ozzie, and a couple of runs. So Darren Lewis tracks it down through 6. The Cards are tracking the Giants 6-0.
Budweiser takes you to the Astrodome. Pete Harnisch working on a no-hitter. First batter in the 7th there in Dalton. There goes the no-hitter and the shutout. Dalton creams one, but in their half of the 7th, Luis Gonzalez has hit his 2nd homer of the game. Harnisch up 3-1. Back to Bush.
All right, Gary, thank you. So the no-no is gone in the 7th, but we've seen 2 bids here in 3 days of the season, which is a heck of a start. It's almost as good as Pena's start. Barry Bonds still looking for his first hit as a member of the San Francisco Giants. He may have it. Ripped to right. Back goes Witten. Back. Gone. And there's Bobby Bonds in the first base coach's box, watching his son Barry Bonds circle the bases. His first hit, a home run. His first hit as a member of the San Francisco Giants.
They talked about Barry Bonds being very good at reading patterns of pitchers. And even though his club trails by 5, he unloads on Cormier's first pitch. Take a look at this first pitch and tell me if you think Bonds knows it's gone.
Here's Robbie Thompson following, but this time Witten is there, and there's one down. So Barry Bonds unloads for the Giants. It's a 6-1 game. 7 homers last April, and well, how sweet it is. First hit, the long ball. And there's Dad. Royce Clayton is up. Now, we talked with Barry before the game about how he would feel. We'll play his answer after this Royce Clayton at bat. Or eventually we'll hear. Clayton pokes one into the Giants dugout foul. All right. Dad's got to be proud there. Not that he hasn't seen his son do that before, but
Well, he's got some direct input with him now, of course, as the batting instructor. Maybe a special feeling for him, having spent so many years with the Giants as a player himself, and to come back and serve as the batting coach when his son has signed a lucrative free agent contract with the Giants.
ripped by Royce Clayton into center field for a base hit, so he's on with one down. Now, I asked Barry about what it would be like maybe shaking hands with Dad to the coach's box or when the Giants open up at Candlestick on Monday. I asked him about his relationships.
I think it's more personal for my mom than anything else because, you know, my mom's whole life she's seen my dad run out there with number 25, and then she goes back to Candlestick and now sees her son running out there at 25. I think it's more emotional for my mom right now to have to sit back and go, same number, same name. But instead of looking over there, she's looking in left field.
A little emotion, though, for Bobby. And Mom enjoyed that one then. And she'll be, of course, at Candlestick on Monday when the Giants open up their home season. Season they weren't sure they were going to have. Ironically, their home opener against Florida, the state where they almost went. The Grateful Dead going to sing the national anthem at Candlestick on Monday. That will be interesting. Count is 1-0 to Kurt Manwaring. Manwaring to right field. Needed to reach Cormier here quite a bit this inning, even though that's an out. Witten handles it, and there's two down. Craig Colbert now, the pinch hitter, up, batting for the pitcher Hickerson. Colbert, the third catcher kept by Dusty Baker, and for the first time tonight, some action in the Cardinal bullpen. Mike Perez, the righty, and Rob Murphy, who had a good spring to make this ball club, the left-hander. Two down. Clayton, the runner at first. Barry Bonds' home run has made it 6-1. Not only will, just to finish this, the Grateful Dead sing the national anthem at Candlestick Monday. Oh, by the way, Tony Bennett will be on hand to sing You'll Never Guess. The first ball going to be thrown out by Mays, McCovey, Marichal, Perry, Cepeda.
Wow,
there it is.
Giants. History of
there
Giants.
It is.
Yep. You know, I grew up in Sacramento and saw my first game at Seal Stadium, 58. Beautiful ballpark.
Your first year at San Francisco.
Saw the Cardinals play, as a matter of fact.
Cardinals played the first game at Candlestick in 1960 against the Giants. Rep by Colbert to left. Oh, and a nice sliding grab made by Brian Jordan. So Jordan, who tripled earlier tonight, makes a nice diving catch in left field. We're heading to the 7th inning stretch here in St. Louis. The Cardinals lead it 6-1.
ESPN Major League Baseball is brought to you by Advanced Formula 2001 Super Protectant. Helps protect vinyl, leather, and rubber from fading. And by Budweiser, the king of beers, who reminds you, friends know when to say when.
Bottom of the 7th inning stretch time here at St. Louis, and Barry Bonds' home run has erased the shutout possibility for Rheal Cormier. Cards lead it 6-1, and Dave Righetti is on in relief. Rags, who really scuffled last year with the Giants. But boy, was he one of the best relievers for a while there with the New York Yankees. Rags coming home a couple of years ago. Up in San Jose, coming home to pitch for his childhood team, the San Francisco Giants, and Craig Colbert stays in the game at second base, which means that Righetti will hit in Thompson's spot number 6 on the double switch. Righetti, among all the Giants, was perhaps more upset than anyone when it looked like they were going to leave last year.
Yeah, he finally had a chance to play at home, and then all the talk about leaving.
This is Rod Brewer, the first baseman, who went in an inning ago and replacing Greg Jeffries. He was in action last year. Did a nice job.
Dusty Baker plans to use Righetti much like Tony La Russa uses Rick Honeycutt, to use him for those tough left-handed hitters. He is developing more of a curveball now that's tough on the hitters. He's always had a good fastball and a slider, but he's had to make some adjustments as he's lost maybe a tad off his fastball here. There's a breaking pitch.
But he's lost a lot of his control. That's what's got him in trouble the last year or so. Count is a 2-2 to Rod Brewer. Diving Colbert into right field, and Brewer's aboard with a leadoff single in the 7th. Let's single it over to Gary.
Chris, we take it to the Metrodome. Bases loaded for the Twins, and Big Dave. Winfield up against Radinsky. The slow curve is slammed into the corner. Herbeck had just walked with the bases loaded to make it 3-1. He'll be one of 3 runs to score as Winfield clears the bases. They've broken it open and lead the White Sox 6-1 as they go for their first win. Back to you.
Thanks, Gary. Is anyone really surprised that Dave Winfield is continuing to just smoke the ball? Homered in the first game, smoking it. I mean, is anyone really surprised that this is happening, Buck? You saw him all last year with Toronto. You know.
It's incredible he's been able to maintain his bat speed. Hitting instructor Terry Crowley of the Twins was telling me in spring training, he said, I can't believe how quick his bat still is. And this is a guy that missed an entire season with back surgery not long ago.
Dave Winfield, one of the best. Longtime teammate of this man, Dave Righetti. As the count is 0-run to Ray Lankford. 6-1 Cardinals, bottom of the 7th inning. And on a night when we had Pete Harnish take a no-hitter into the 7th inning, and a day after Jose Guzman, we won out to left in the 9th, we look at Dave Righetti, who on July 4th, 1983, pitched a no-hitter for the Yankees at Yankee Stadium against their arch rival, the Boston Red Sox. Has it really been 10 years ago that happened? I can't believe it. And forgotten in all of this is that Dave Righetti is number 6 on the all-time save list. And I mean, he hasn't had any really for about 3 years. That's how good that he was. And of course, Lee Smith, it looked like a save opportunity tonight for him. He's just 2 behind the leader, Jeff Reardon. Those 2 were teammates at Boston. And Rags, I mean, that number just jumps at you.
Yeah, you have a tendency to overlook those great years as a closer for the Yankees. But he was overpowering. Combination of a 90-mile-an-hour fastball and a late-breaking slider.
At 46 one year for the Yanks. Count is 2-2 to Ray Lankford. None out, Brewer at first. Tell you what, if Righetti can return to some sort of form. Michael Jackson looked good last night. Dusty likes his left-hander Kevin Rogers. And Rod Beck looks like the real thing in closing. That's where the Giants may have a surplus and may be able to make a deal for a starting pitcher or something. That's where they may go to work on the trading block as Lankford sits down, striking out.
Well, you got to believe that they've got the offense to contend, but they need some pitching, and Dusty Baker realizes that. He's got to get some starting pitching. Let's take a look at this last pitch from Righetti. Breaking ball, good location, had Lankford out in front. Watch his balance. Disrupted by the break of the slider down and away from him.
Noticed in the last flip through the scores, the Phillies have tied that game. They're a scrappy bunch.
Boy, they are. They have a pretty good attack. Dalton broke up the no-hitter with a home run.
Mark Whitten is 1 for 3 tonight. Singled in the first inning. Drove in the first run of the night. Skies it behind first. Coming on McGee. Going out is Colbert. Nobody makes the play, but they're going to get Brewer at second base, who had to hold up to see if it was caught. So not your basic force out at second base, but one the Giants will take.
Well, the composure of the veteran Willie McGee enables him to make the force out at second. This was right in no man's land, and that is a catcher who's playing second base, so he's not really uncomfortable out there. But Willie McGee plays the ball off the hop and gets the force out.
9-6 force out at second base. Batting champion in '85 and in '90 in the National League, Willie McGee. So Whitten aboard on the fielder's choice to the outfield. And Tanzil hitting the ball on the nose again, but Colbert makes the play. And the Cards are gone here in the 7th. We played 7 at Busch Stadium here in St. Louis. Cardinals lead the Giants 6-1. There are not many players that can have their initials on their jersey, and Omar Olivares is one of them. He's now come on in relief for the Cards in the top of the 8th, leading 6-1. He wore number 26 last year, so this year he's been up here in the big leagues. That's, I don't recall a baseball player wearing 00.
Cliff Johnson actually wore it in 1985 for the Blue Jays.
Did he?
We had 0 and 00. Al Oliver.
Well, he wore 0, yeah. But I'm trying to think of
Cliff Johnson wore 00 on the same team.
Cliff Brothers Johnson. Well, I mean, Willie McGee is up, and count is 1-1. I mean, 2-1. Get Robert Parrish. Eric Montross, the championship Tar Heel basketball team. Congratulations to them. Of course, the famous 2 double zeros is McGee inside out. Sid, fair ball. This will rattle around in the corner. Jordan has to go over and get it. Willie McGee is in with a double. Giants starting to hit a little bit here. Bonds solo homer in the 7th inning. And now McGee leads off with a double in the 8th. And here's Willie.
Willie McGee can still pick him up and lay him down. Look at him concentrate. Knows it's down in that corner, and he saw Barry Bonds have trouble in that corner, so he hustles right into second base, but pulls up when Jordan picks up the ball. Willie McGee can still motor.
So now the hit total against double O Omar Olivares is 0-1. Darren Lewis up. Clark, Williams, and Bonds do up next. So the Cards, even though with a 5-run lead, want to be careful. Want to get Lewis out of there before the Giants start thinking they can jump back in it with their 3, 4, 5 guns. Count is 1-1. Dusty Baker, just give me Lewis on base and then I'll take my chances. He's thinking. Bears drops that one in there for a strike. There's Will Clark. The on deck circle. There are none out here in the Giants 8th, even though they trail at 6-1. Ball out and a pop-up. Lewis tonight 0 for 3. Way behind that pitch by Olivares. Count is 1-2. Lou will sit down. I'm behind because I looked at the scoreboard. But we weren't never behind on Top Rank Boxing because our our 13th anniversary show will go off a lot better than that music. Charles Murray against Tony Martin, the natural Murray. In a matchup of junior welterweights, Ernest Mateen, Steve Pinnell, and lightweight bout, Top Rank Boxing. Live, I do mean live, from Atlantic City at 9 tomorrow night. Will Clark, a live ground ball to second that's fielded by Pena. And very quickly, a would-be Giant rally is down to 2 outs and a runner at third. Was it something we said? The band, what, we didn't pay him? Yeah, they had 50,000 last night. I tell you what, a chilly night after an opening night, you'd still get 20,950. It was a great baseball town. Don't need me to say that. Love coming here to St. Louis and places like here in Cincinnati. They just know their baseball. Fans of all ages. Nat Williams up and looks at strike 1. Double O Omar Olivares. The reason he changed his number was because fans suggested that he do it. He's responding to the fans who say, hey, put your initials on your back. Jim Otto and Ken Burrow. The NFL come to mind. Those that wore double O.
You know, Olivares was penciled in the starting rotation, and then Joe Torre, like we talked about earlier, didn't like the way he was going about things in spring training, so he took him out and put Rene Arocha in there. This was supposed to be his start, game 2 of the regular season, but I guess Torre wasn't too impressed with the way Olivares was going about things, and now he's challenged him to earn that starting position. Murphy up for the second time. Looks like he's going to get an inning of work here.
So it goes to open the season Tewksbury, and then Cormier, who pitched well tonight. Donovan Osborne pitches next. Rene Arocha, Joe McGrain. That's the starting 5 as the Cardinals open up here in '93.
Potentially, that's a very good starting staff. And then when you can back it up with a guy like Olivares, who's trying to work his way back in there you see McGrain and Tewksbury. Nothing like competition to keep everybody on their toes. Toronto got a win from Al Leiter, who was starting in place of Dave Stewart, who went on the disabled list with a fairly serious elbow injury.
There's a busted bat, ground ball to Ozzie. And over to Brewer, and Williams is retired. The ball and bat each travel to about midway to deep shortstop. Now the Giants have, that's about the way their bats have looked tonight. We head to the bottom of the 8th, 6-1 St. Louis.
At Baltimore this evening, the Orioles rally to tie it in the bottom of the 8th. We go to the 11th, 1-all. Greg Olson on a relief, and that's Doug Strange, a non-roster player who made the team. He homers to win it. Palmer hit his 3rd home run of the year in this game. All of the Rangers' runs this year have come on long balls.
All right, Gary, thank you. Grab some cotton candy. I'll tell you what, you know Gonzalez and Canseco and Palmer and company are going to go deep. When Doug People Are Strange start hitting it out of the ballpark, it could be an interesting season in Texas. And Dave Righetti serving up the first pitch to Brian Jordan. Sends it a long way to center field. But you got to hit it a long way in this ballpark. And Jordan's fly ball is corralled by Darren Lewis. And there is one out. Hey, next Wednesday, we'll see that matchup in Texas. Nolan Ryan is going to start. He's expected to start for Texas next Wednesday night against the Orioles. And Buck and I looking forward to going to that ball game. And there's a lot of room in this ballpark for sure, even though they moved the fences in a little bit last year. Nice job with the flower pots. A little early for all the flower pots in there. That's just the putting green out there in center field. Tom Pagnozzi. Sac fly, drove in the 3rd run in the 2nd inning. Walked and scored on Pena's home run in the 4th. Flew out to left field. Pagnozzi fouls it back. Tracy Woodson in the on-deck circle. Going to bat for Olivares. We'll probably see Perez, who is still throwing in the bullpen, although Murphy is also warm. Not a Lee Smith night, at least not yet. Cardinals and Giants play an afternoon game here tomorrow. And the Giants don't return here until September. You know, the Cardinals do not play a game against the East until May 7th.
That's what that 7-team division will do for you. New expansion clubs.
Ground ball is short. Clayton fumbles it, spins, fumbles it again. Pagnozzi aboard. So with 1 out, Pagnozzi on, and Woodson, the pinch hitter, coming up and moving into the on-deck circle. Geronimo Pena. And there was no question tonight that our Kelly Springfield key play with 2 out and 2 on the first pitch after the pitcher Cormier had a base hit. Geronimo Pena said, see ya. Ball was gone down the left field line, and a 3-0 game became a 6-0 game, and Cardinals have been smiling ever since. And no one has gotten this guy out yet. 8 times up this year, 8 times on base. 5 hits, 3 walks. And I like this Joe Torre, Buck, getting to use, at least getting everybody in. Brewer has played. Here's Woodson at the plate. His pitchers all. If Perez comes in, he's used just about everybody out of the bullpen here in a couple of nights, except Lee Smith. There's a base hit for Woodson. Pagnozzi to second base. And as Pena strolls to the plate again, our next baseball action here on ESPN. Friday night, Dodgers and the Braves from hot Atlanta at 7:30 Eastern time. That'll be followed by the Oakland A's at home against the Milwaukee Brewers at 10:30 Eastern. 7:30 on the West Coast. Some of you will see alternate games, but there's no alternate for Geronimo Pena. no alternative but to pitch to him. And what a way to start the year. The only thing that's burst about his bubble is the gum that he's chewing.
Well, when you're this hot, it's as if the ball were traveling in slow motion. You see every seam of the breaking ball, and you see the fastball like it's a big beach ball coming up there.
2 singles and a 3-run homer tonight. He walked in the first and scored a run. Fagnazzi at second and Woodson at first, and Pena sends it to left field, but can it possibly be? He's made it out. Send him down to the minors. What's the matter with this guy? And the standing O from the knowledgeable crowd here at St. Louis. It took 9 plate appearances to retire Geronimo Pena. And see the smile, the last man down the bench? Red and Sheendings. The chant for Ozzie. Sheendings yesterday told me it was his 51st opening night in professional baseball. So it dwarfs the rest of us.
Yeah.
There's Red.
The old redhead.
Former player, teammate, good friend, Stan Musial, who was here to festivities last night. Ozzie going deep to left. Bonds is back, but makes the catch. We're going to the 9th inning here at St. Louis. Bonds is due up. He homered his last time up. The Cardinals lead it 6-1. Top of the 9th inning here in St. Louis. The Cardinals looking to nail down their 6-1 win over the Giants. The lone Giant run, courtesy of the last at bat. Lead off the 7th inning by Barry U.S. Bonds. His first hit, a home run. His first Giant hit, long ball. And that spoiled the shutout of Rheal Cormier, who is now gone, and the new pitcher is Mike Perez. Olivares pitched the 8th, and Perez pitching the 9th against Barry Bonds. Bonds rips it into right field for his second hit as a member of the San Francisco Giants. Let's rip it over to Gary.
Chris, a tight one at the Astrodome. Morandini had just homered to tie it at 3. Doug Jones facing Milt Thompson. A shot up the box. Steve Finley charging. The SIU grad gunning home. John Kruk is meat. Toffenty with a tag. They've gone to the bottom of the 9th. Sports Center's coming up when the game ends. Back to it.
Now that's one of my favorite players, John Kruk.
In your face, right? That's what Kruk felt like at the plate. Here's a look at Mike Perez. Jeff Reed is up now, batting for Dave Righetti. Reed, one of the 3 catchers on the Giants. All of them now have gotten to the game tonight. Reed has been around Cincinnati last season, backing up Joe Oliver. Minnesota. Montreal. Joliet, Illinois. Bonds on first, none out here in the 9th inning. 6-1 the Cardinals lead. Pena the 3-run homer in the 4th, the big blow. Cards though jumped on Trevor Wilson with 2 runs in the 1st inning on singles by Whitten and Zeal. Here's our star this evening, Geronimo. Distrito Nacional Dominican Republic. We would be remiss, Buck, tonight if we didn't mention one of the gentlemen in the game and a very good umpire, normally would work in Bruce Fleming's crew. Ed Montague suffered a freak injury in spring training when he was hit by a thrown ball on a freak play down the line. And he is at home in the Bay Area, and all of us here at ESPN and all of us in the baseball wish him a speedy recovery. Hey, there's 2 on here in the 9th inning with none out. And Royce Clayton coming up, and Joe Coleman is saying, you know, just supposed to nail this thing down. We do not want to get Lee Smith up, but as we say it, Smith takes off the jacket in the bullpen just in case.
Well, you never want to be in a situation where you didn't have time to get Lee Smith ready. And this giant ball club has plenty of offensive weapons. They can come back in a hurry.
Bonds at second, Reed at first, Royce Clayton up. Little chopper foul wide of third base coach Wendell Kim. Well, yeah, and Sports Center is next. I said they do our promos for us here at St. Louis. Basically they take care of everything. Glad that they like us here as the gateway to the West. It's a high five fest. Count is 0-2 to Royce Clayton. Manwaring on deck. Then Colbert. Did he go? Yes, he went around, and young Brian Gorman working his first game ever in the bigs behind the plate. It's a look from Clayton, but that's not going to change his call.
Royce Clayton tries to hold up on this breaking pitch, but you can see the bat well across the plate, cut the plane, and umpire Gorman rings him up.
Kurt Manwaring up. The Giants with 2 on, but trail by 5, and Manwaring fouls the first pitch off to the right side, not a play. As you look at the St. Louis Cardinals, one thing they will not have to contend with this year is there's a shot by Manwaring to center field, but Langford is there. And the Giants are down to their final swing. They were 3-15 last year against the Pittsburgh Pirates, who are not the same ball club. You make that into, of course, they're not going to play him 18 times, but you make that into a 9-9, changes the complexion of the whole race. And for Dusty Baker, who experienced his first win ever as a Major League manager last night, this will be his first loss unless Giants come up with a miracle. He'll do well, Buck, don't you think?
Oh, I certainly do, because he's able to communicate. He's been the hitting coach for the past 5 seasons, and he understands what it takes to play, to win. You've got to eliminate the mistakes.
What's interesting, you see Joe Torre in one dugout here, Dusty Baker, Tony Perez, manager, Don Baylor, manager. You know, so much for the theory that, you know, the guys who are good players can't manage. There are a lot of good players who are managing, you know, guys that excelled in their playing days that are now
Al McRae in Kansas City.
Yeah. Barry Bonds, the runner at second base. Jeff Reed, the runner at first. Greg Colbert fouls it back. Crap, pair of games this week for you and I. Enjoyed it. Got off to an interesting start, my man.
Yeah, we've seen some good baseball. Cardinals expected to contend in the East, and the Giants, I think they're going to surprise some folks.
Rheal Cormier stands to win his start. It'll be 7 straight wins if you go back to last season. For the Cardinal left-hander, Perez delivers outside. But again, 2-2. Trevor Wilson didn't have it tonight. Geronimo Pena certainly did. 3-run homer in the 4th inning put this one on ice. Sports Center coming up following the end of the game. There's a shot to right field. Long run. Foul. get pace to stay to the end of the game. We got a baseball. We got everything. And they saw a Cardinal win their first of the year. Perez can nail it down here against Colbert. Not so fast. The count is full. At least means the runners will be moving. And next week, Buck and I will be in Texas. Next Wednesday night, 8:30 Eastern. Nolan Ryan against the Orioles. That'll be fun.
Another explosive offensive club, that Texas
boy.
Rangers.
Oh, boy.
Seiko and Gonzalez.
We'll do it again. Foul back.
And that power hitter, Doug Strange.
Yep. Hey, some new teams talking about contending here. Here we are looking at the Phillies and the Astros and Texas. And
Texas improved their pitching a lot. We saw Craig Lefferts in the spring and Charlie Lee Brandt. Tom Henke picked up a save in the Rangers' first game. He's a free agent with Texas. A lot of new faces with new clubs. It's going to be an interesting summer for baseball.
3-2 pitch on the way again. A little looper. Base hit. Drops in front of Witten. Bonds is going to score. And the throw comes in and cut Ozzie. Almost caught too big a turn by Colbert. But man, that's so fast. It's now a 6-2 ball game with Willie McGee coming up. So Colbert staying with it, fouling off a few pitches. And here's a walk that Joe Torre did not want to make. Big right-hander Lee Smith is ready, and the sign goes down for Lee Arthur Smith. We'll be back. The Giants staying alive. Just another night at the ball yard, and we said that Joe Torre used just about everybody, Buck, in 2 games. Here comes Lee Smith.
Well, he was hoping he wasn't going to have to use Lee Smith, but Perez has allowed a couple of base hits. The Giants are threatening and trying to close the gap.
And we learned once upon a time that you never close the door. Some of us that saw the Phillies get 9 in the 9th at Dodger Stadium one evening, trailing 11-3, know that it ain't over until, as Joe Torre hopes, Lee Smith gets in the game. And remember, we showed you this earlier with Dave Bergetti. Lee Smith, this is certainly now a saved situation because the tying run is in the on-deck circle. So with one out, Lee Smith can come up with a big finish and come up with possible number save 356. From Castor, Louisiana, is Lee Smith, and he faces the veteran Willie McGee. Strike one.
Lee Smith has got a little extra velocity on that fastball this year. He has regained some of the velocity that the years have taken from him. Well, he's been really successful since coming back to St. Louis.
Yeah, but not all those at-bats against the big fella. Went to a Northwest state in Louisiana, and the reason I mention that is because that's in one of the best. Another town that we got to get in, that school is in Natchitoches, Louisiana. 1-1 pitch to Willie McGee. Fouls it back, and now Smith down to 1 strike. 1 run is in here in the Giant 9th. Jeff Reed is at third base. Greg Colbert is at first base. 6-2, the Cardinals lead it. Remember, Sports Center coming up after the game. Dan and Keith. Plenty of baseball, a wild day in football, a lot of maneuvering. That's for darn sure. McGee staying alive. I don't think anybody was surprised that as soon as the 49ers didn't get Reggie White that they would be quite busy, and we're all about it on Sports Center. Speaking of busy, guys that big contracts recently, Barry Bonds, home run and single last 2 at bats. Nice chat with him before the game. 1-2 pitch to Willie McGee. It was inside, but Willie felt he had to hack at it and fouled it off.
And Lee Smith is getting it up there tonight. Cool night here. He's been
sitting around. But Joe Torre did a good job to get him up early in this 9th inning, sensing that something might go amiss, and he didn't want to be sitting there in a rush to get Lee Smith ready.
McGee slaps it foul to stay alive.
Lee Smith learned a little bit more about off-speed pitching, developed the slider a little bit more since he worked in Boston. He was concerned about the velocity being down, made some adjustments.
And Willie McGee couldn't adjust to that one, and Lee Smith nails it down with the save, and Rheal Cormier gets the win. The Cardinals have defeated the Giants here tonight 6-2, and Geronimo Pena's 3-run homer in the 4th inning, the big blow. Pena the hero, and Barry Bonds homered for the Giants, but albeit in a losing cause.